Thank you, Katie Hall, for joining us today. Katie Hall from the United Healthcare Pro Cycling team. Fresh off your victories at the Joe Martin Stage Race and also the Tour of the Gila. Just wanted to catch up with you and see how you feel after winning those two tours back to back.
Yeah, I feel really good. It was a pretty big surprise. I think Gila is a race that I've wanted to win for a long time. But Joe Martin was a race that I just was never on my radar, and I showed up thinking that I was going to be a support rider, but had a really good uphill time trial in that race and ended up with a race lead and just fighting to keep it.
I could tell that you're hungry.
Yeah, I did. I had two, so I finished like 5th and 6th the 2 days before that, and I felt like really strong and like I could do more. But I had, either teammates up the road or I got myself a little bit out of position in one stage. And I just decided sort of the next day was my day to like really get a result because, I just felt strong.
Tour of the Gila, tell me about your history with that race and your motivation for it.
Yeah, I love that race because that's really kind of the climbers stage race in the U.S. And I've twice finished second there. And also won it twice with somebody on my team, played a support role for somebody on my team. And so I just love that race. And it's such a beautiful race and it's such a beautiful place. And just really have wanted to win it since the first time I raced it. And this is the first time I really, really got it together and got the win.
Okay, what do you think the key moment of Tour of the Gila was for you this year?
A key moment was attacking on Mogollon. So that we had a group of 3 that rode away, and with about a K to finish, I attacked the 2 other riders and got an 8-second gap, which is not a big gap, but carried that small lead all the way through the race.
Right. The thing with Tour of the Gila, it never changes, does it? It's very similar every year with the courses and stuff. It makes it really hard because people know when they need to sort of wait and attack and when to go.
Yeah. That's true. That time is always the same, except for last year when it was short. And I won it last year when it was really short because they were construction on the upper part of Mogollon. Okay. But I think that while the course is the same every year, it can be very different with the wind. And the wind can change, like if a break can stay or how you play that final climb. And so there's a short climb and then a plateau and then about a 5K climb to the finish. And my teammate, Lizzie, just shattered the field on that plateau. We had a crosswind and she, went all out and protected Diana, Leia, and I, and only 3 people managed to stay with us. So when we hit the final climb, the final 5Ks, we had a group of 6 and we had 3 teammates in it and then 3 other individuals. And so that was like a really, really good place for us to be. And Diana and Leia helped set a really, really hard pace, especially through the flatter parts of the climb. And we already had some good isolation from the rest of the field.
So then the next, I think, pivotal stage really is the time trial a couple of days later.
I
think it's a pretty unique time trial. I don't think you see anything else like that in the world. Even like on the men's side of things, they're looking for 56 and 58 tooth chain rings, and every year to talk about. Oh, really? That big? It's crazy fast down those descents, and
55.
Holding aero position, crosswinds. Tell me a little bit about getting ready for that thing.
Yeah, I was pretty nervous because there was 25-mile-an-hour crosswinds. Like I can deal with a wind like that in a headwind or a tailwind, which some years it's been on that course, but a crosswind can really scare a smaller rider.
Yeah.
And so I was a bit nervous because some people pre-rode that course with a tri-spoke and just like said their bikes were sort of lifting off the ground in the wind.
Oof, not good. Especially when you're in the aero position, right? That's pretty dangerous.
Yeah. I called a friend that night before and he said, I've never seen anyone get blown off their bike on that course. You'll be fine. And he said, if you feel the crosswinds, get as small as you can. And the smaller you are and the more aero you are, the less likely you are to get blown off your bike.
There you go.
And so I said, that gave me like something to do when I got these big gusts of wind. It's just concentrate on being aero. And that really built my confidence up a little bit. And yeah.
Talk about the pacing for that particular time trial. Let's do that for a second. It's like, I think it's pretty unique. There's two major climbs, two major descents, and then a middle section that's quite. It's tough. I think a lot of false flats, and the wind's always a bit of an issue. So, how do you sort of go about the pacing for that?
Yeah, I love best bike splits, and I always make sure I get that from you every time we have a time trial like this.
Right.
And I think that it's just, even though it's like pretty complicated for a course like Gila, you'll get like 17 or something segments with the power you're supposed to do on those segments. And that's like pretty complicated, but it really gives you an idea of how to attack the time trial and like where to put your efforts to really minimize your overall race time. And that's how I think about it.
Do you remember all 17? Like, do you write those things down, or like how do you remember all that information?
No, but I know like for the first climb where I start, and then on the first climb, which is 6 miles or something, I know that I like slowly crank it up because the hill gets steeper and steeper, and then like on all the downhills, I'm trying to recover as good as I can and take my speed into the rollers. And I know like from best bike splits that I just need to empty the tank by the top of the final climb, and then you just can't put that much power out when you're going 70k an hour or something on that final descent. And so,
it's tough final kilometers, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy. It's crazy. No, I had to fight with the mechanics for a while to let me use a 55 because they think I'm on the small side and I can't push a 55. But
did you tell them that if you give me the 55, I'm going to win this tour? Did you say that to them?
No, but I should have.
Remember that one for next time.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Then final day, the Gila Monster, often stated as the hardest stage in all of US racing. How did it play out?
So Rally really brought a strong game that day, and we're just attacking everything from the very beginning. I had an 8-second lead, and so it's not a big lead, but we kind of put us in a defensive position, just trying to keep that lead. Like we didn't have to go on the attack. And so they got 3 people into the break before we hit the valley floor. But they could be up the road to help Sarah Poivinen, who was second in GC.
Okay. And she was having a really strong race, wasn't she?
Yeah, she's super strong. She was super strong last year. She's really, really strong. And yeah, so my team got on the front and managed the break. And pretty much 2 riders and sometimes 3 riders were able to keep that break within a minute. But we managed to just not let her get a gap ever. And she attacked so many times that by the final, like finishing straight, I was able to just attack and kind of ride away from her. She did what she really needed to do in order to try to win the GC. But I felt really comfortable and confident that I could just stay on her wheel and she couldn't go anywhere. Well, it was the slowest time I've ever been up Gila Monster because nobody was just trying to open it up and ride everybody off their wheel. But it was a really some fun attacks. And Diana, my teammate, got off the front and managed to solo to the win because it was just such a different Gila Monster than most years. And it was really, really cool.
And she was working through the valley too, right? She was
working.
Chasing.
Yeah, it was amazing. She's like found this confidence that I've never seen in her before, and I'm just like so impressed with her.
That's awesome.
Really cool.
The way that particularly the United Healthcare girls raced together, it was it's a beautiful thing. I've often said that. And you guys always seem to have a lot of mojo and emotion and a lot of joy of racing and achieving things together, which is just
definitely.
great. I love it.
And supporting each other, and like it was really nice. Like Leia is our other climber, and she just stayed with me that whole time. Like she could have climbed away because me and Sarah were just looking at each other. But I had Leia there just like to help me in case I ever got into trouble with these attacks.
How did it feel to come across the finish line there, knowing that you were going to win?
Yeah, it felt just really, really good. Just because that's one that I've really aimed for and tried to win before, and just like really focused on. And I think to reach for something and kind of put yourself out there and say, this is the thing I really want. And then to achieve that is just feels really, really good. To really work hard and get what you were unsure you could really win.
Okay. So when do you think you actually started thinking about Tour of the Gila 2018?
Maybe at the end of Tour of the Gila 2017.
That's a very good response. I like that one.
Yeah. I won the first and last stage last year, and I didn't have a very good time trial. And my teammate won, and it was super fun to ride in support of her. And it was just great team vibes. But like, this is one that I wanted to win for myself, and so.
Right. Awesome.
Really good.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about your preparation for it a little bit. Tell me where you are at the moment. Where are you?
Oh, yeah. I'm up in Mammoth, Mammoth Lakes, and I'm staying at this place called the Mammoth Crib that they host pro athletes for.
Oh,
and there's, it's really, really cool. And you train here, and it's fun. There's a couple professional runners staying here right now. Mammoth is more of a running community than a cycling community, but the roads here are really, really good for training on your bike too. And I just love training here.
Right.
And
is altitude a key thing for you in your preparation?
Yeah, especially for Gila. Like, I think altitude is good for a lot of things, but if you're going to race at altitude, for me, I need to acclimatize pretty thoroughly before I race at altitude if I'm going to be the best I can be. So, yeah. I think before I've ever had a race at altitude, I've tried to spend 2 to 3 weeks at altitude. And so usually that happens like 2 times a year, before Gila and before Colorado.
Okay.
I've done an altitude block, and either here in Mammoth or in Boulder. I stayed in Boulder as well.
Okay. How long did you go home for in between Tour of the Gila and where you are now?
24 hours.
That's one hell of a husband that you've got, I tell you.
Yeah, he travels a lot too, so it's like, it's nicer when we're both away from home. It kind of sucks to be the person that's at home by yourself. Okay. But this is nice because we're close enough. He's going to come up this weekend. He came up one weekend last time we were here, went on some big rides together, and just had a lot of fun. And
right. Tell me, I wanted to ask you, so what do you think is the key training session for Katie Hall? So I saw it was at NBC Sports. Have you listed for the MGen Tour of California as the Uber climber, Katie Hall?
Yeah.
So you are the Uber climber. So tell me, what's a key session for you, like in your preparation? Something that you think is one of the things that really makes a difference in you being one of the best climbers in the world.
Yeah, I think I do a lot more than other riders. I think I do a lot of threshold intervals, like long threshold, like 15 minutes at threshold, and like 4 times or so. And just spend a lot of time in that zone, more than I think people who don't climb so much do, because I think that's the kind of consistent hard power that you need to be able to put out on long climbs. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty important workout for me, I think.
Is it something that you enjoy?
No, no, not at all.
You're pretty adamant about that.
Yeah, I used to have like a pretty big mental obstacle about those intervals because I just felt like they were so hard that I would enlist some friends to come and help set pace for my intervals. Like some of the guys that I know that are pretty fast, and even though like some of them couldn't do those intervals either, they would come and do like the first 4 minutes of each 15-minute interval and then explode and wait for me to finish the interval and come back down, and we would start each interval together. No. Yeah, but now I feel like I've gotten over the mental block I had about these intervals, and I can just feel them, and they're not so bad.
With when you're doing the efforts, like what are you aiming for? Like, are you trying to achieve a certain power? Is it something like you always want to see more power than the last time you did this session? Like, what's sort of going through your process, your goals and objectives?
Yeah, I do really like it when I see a little bit more power than I saw the last week, or I sometimes see, and I would like to see it just keep marching up, the power that I put out for these intervals, but it's not always that way.
It's not a march up ever, is it? It's always just
incremental
progression, right?
Yeah. And I feel like you think it is. You like make a step upwards one week, and you're like, I'm going to keep going that way, and then it goes down the next week, and you're like, oh,
right.
Like you just keep doing it.
And do you think that's like a failed session, like a failure on your part, like not performing, or do you feel like you're still getting the load out of it?
Yeah, I think you're still getting the load. I think I used to think, I'm failing at this, but now I just realize you just do the work and don't freak out about it. Just keep doing the work, and eventually it pays off.
So, do you ever have days where it just all goes wrong?
Yeah.
In training,
I feel like pretty often, especially if I'm really training really hard, and like sometimes I'll have like a really hard block before a race, and by the end of it, it's just like sometimes multiple days in a row are just like really hard to get done. Okay. And I think I'm better now.
Do you still get them done, whatever? Like some days do you have to call it quits, or what's the go?
Yeah, I think I'm better now at just sticking with it, even though it's not as high quality as I want it to be. And yeah, maybe sometimes you just have to call it quits. I remember one time last winter, I tried to do some intervals, and I was 100 watts below what I was aiming for. Oh. And then I just went home. Right. Just went on home. Right. That's just like it was not even in the realm of what I was trying to do. And
that sounds like a decision at that point.
Yeah, for sure. But if it's like 20 watts under what I'm aiming, it's okay. It's just, I think sometimes what would Loretta do? Because Loretta stayed at my house, and she's like, I never quit my intervals. I just stick with them, and maybe they're bad, but she says HTFU. And
I won't ask you to tell us what that means. I think Google it if you have to. Right.
Yeah.
So what's coming up next, Katie? What do you have coming up now?
We're here in Mammoth training for about a week, and then we race Redlands, and then then about 10 days after that we'll race Tour of California.
Okay. Tour of California is the big one for the year, right?
Yeah, big one. Yeah. Biggest race in America for Women's World Tour race in America. So.
Right. Motivated?
Good. Yeah, motivated. Last year I lost by 1 second. And people are like, what is your goal this year? I'd like to do a little bit better.
Yeah, you only have to do a little bit better.
Yeah, I want to win this race. So trying to figure out how I can do that.
So that's about 3 weeks away, I suppose. Yep. You got Redlands in the middle there. Mm-hmm. What do you think is going to make the difference between now and then?
I think this is maybe the last week of training I really have to do before that can make any difference for California. So it's an important week of training. I felt that way about the last week I had before Joe Martin too, that being, I think, a pretty important week for California. Mm-hmm. And just a hard week.
Right. All right. Well, best of luck for the next few weeks. I think congratulations, I have to say, obviously, on Joe Martin and Gila. 2 for 2 so far this season. So
yeah, good start to the season.
It's a nice streak. You don't want to crack that anytime soon.
So
my advice is just to keep it rolling.
Yeah, I'll do my best. Make it fun.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Click here to check out Day by Day Coaching.